And so that's a big and important part. But the other big and important part comes at the moment that she's standing on the stage with the coffins and talking about that video, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the other moment about how in the hell could you do that? And her testimony depends on an understanding and it being true that really, when she was talking then, she really did not know, and she did not know that it couldn't have been the video and that it couldn't have been those things, but in fact that she was misinformed and that she was saying what she was saying honestly. If there is some evidence that she was lying in front of those caskets and misrepresenting to people, that's terrible.
And telling people, well, I'm going to get the people who made that video.
Right.
Yeah. Let me, real quick, last 60 seconds here. Chris Stirewalt is with us. So Donald Trump leads the Republican presidential field in the latest ABC News Washington Post poll, not only in vote preferences, but in expectations as well, the expectation of who's going to win. Notably, even more Republicans, 42% say they expect Trump to win the GOP nomination for president. Trump recently, he's taken on everybody. He took on you recently in a comment. So what's happening with Trump?
Well, I would say that the poll that shows a plurality of Republicans believe that he will be the nominee is actually not good news for Trump, right? So when more people think that he's going to be the nominee than are supporting him for the nomination, that means that there are a considerable number of people in the party who don't like that prospect, right? So there's a lot of people in the party, in the Republican Party, who have said for a long time, this Trump, whatever. It's an August fancy. This will pass with the changing of the league.
Hasn't passed yet.
And I said, let's see how he's looking at the second week of September. And when we see how he's looking at the second week of September, we'll know. And guess what we know? We know that he has now been the Republican frontrunner nationally for 105 days, I think. And we are 102 days away from the Iowa caucuses, and nobody has been able to unhorse him. And you're listening to people who have 4% of the vote and 5% of the vote quibble about fighting with each other over their fundraising. And you look at these guys and you say, hey, Jeb Bush, I don't know if that's going to feed the bulldog. But the trouble for Trump is when the rest of the party takes seriously the prospect that he could be their nominee, voters will act differently, donors will act differently, and candidates will act differently when it comes to running notional, foolish campaigns for an office they will never win.
Chris Stirewalt, Fox News Digital Politics editor, always a pleasure.
Bye.
Later.
Wait, this can't be right. If you bank with MVB, they pay you to use your debit card? Who approved this?
That's right. With MVB's Checking with Cash Back, we pay you to use your debit card. What's more, we give you 2% cash back on purchases when qualifications are met. Open an account online today at mvbbanking.com or visit one of our convenient local branches. MVB, your financial life made easy. Member FDIC.
The Jeep Celebration event at Northside in Summersville is underway. There's never been a better selection. Over 200 Jeeps available. The 2015s leaving quick. The 2016s arriving faster. It is a great opportunity for you to save big. Get a 2015 Jeep Patriot Latitude 4x4 with Bluetooth and remote start and save over $4,400. It was $26,980, now just $22,490. Head down to Northside Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram Truck on Route 19 in Summersville or visit us at northsidewv.com. Don't delay. Buy a Jeep today.
This is Talkline on MetroNews. For 30 years, the voice of West Virginia.
When we made the Jeep Cherokee, we didn't stop at a stunning interior, or at advanced technologies, or stop at that gas station, or from going over bumps, or rocks, or through rivers. Let's just say we couldn't stop ourselves. One drive and you'll discover why the Jeep brand continues to be the best-selling SUV brand. Join us now during the Jeep Drive and Discover event.
At MVB Bank, we have one simple objective: to give you the very best of everything you could possibly want and need in a bank. That's it. We believe most people just want a really great bank with top-notch products like checking with cash back, nationwide ATM fee refunds, great CD and car loan rates, and more. Together with our awesome team and the convenience of state-of-the-art technology they can count on. It's no extra fluff, just good, honest banking. We're MVB Bank, your most valuable bank. Member FDIC.
Almost there. Just 5 more minutes. Almost home.
Statistics show that 80% of auto fatalities occur close to home on rural roads.
Gosh, cops.
That's why law enforcement is stepping up rural patrols and cracking down on impaired driving. If you are over the limit, you are under arrest because drinking and driving don't mix. Remember, over the limit, under arrest. This message brought to you by the Governor's Highway Safety Program.
It's a lot easier when you have it on before you get pulled over. Click it or ticket. Council.
All right, before it's too late, pick up your fall foliage guide. Call 1-800-CALL-WVA. Stop by any of the welcome centers in West Virginia to pick up your fall foliage guide from the state of West Virginia. And post your fall photos. I know you got them. Post them at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hashtag #GoToWV. Hashtag fall in WV. Okay, post your photos there and pick up your fall foliage guide. First hour, raced by. We'll regroup in 6 minutes. This is Talkline on MetroNews, the voice of West Virginia. Metro News, this is Hoppy.
Hoppy, it's Earl.
Welcome back. Hour number 2 of Talkline on the Metro News Radio Network in and around the great state of West Virginia. Hoppy Kercheval with you. Joe Nelson, our producer, Matt Sunday, handling the video stream. You can watch us at wvmetronews.com. Phone number 1-800-765-8255. Email talkline at wvmetronews.com. Tweet me at Hoppy Kercheval. Text me 304-TALK. 304. Let's get back to the president's visit yesterday and the continuing discussion about the serious drug problem in West Virginia. Governor Earl Ray Tomblin has made fighting drug abuse in our state a priority since taking office. He was part of the event yesterday. He joins us this morning on Metro News Talkline. Governor, good morning. Always good to have you on Talkline.
Good morning, Hoppy.
What was your takeaway from yesterday? Was it just you've been a part of a lot of events? Was it a dog and pony show, or was it something that we could take away and build on to try to tackle this problem in West Virginia?
Well, you know, it's one of those things that since I came in here in the fall of 2010, you know, tackling the problem with substance abuse has been one of my priorities, and we've made a lot of changes, and the president acknowledged that yesterday, that some of the things that we're doing already in West Virginia should be shared and used around the country. But it's not only a West Virginia problem, as I've said many times, it's a problem across the entire country. I think that, you know, the thing that the president did bring yesterday is the attention. You know, when the president comes to an area, you know, focusing on one subject, and that being substance abuse, I think it got a lot of not only local but national media in here, and it's one of those things that, you know, we've got to address. I mean, it affects our workforce. It affects every, you know, community in our state, whether it's city or, you know, out around the smaller counties, and it's one that, you know, we've got to figure out how we can better, first of all, prevent people from getting hooked on drugs, and then secondly, how we get them off of there to turn them back into productive citizens, and, you know, stop the number of deaths that we're facing here in West Virginia and all across the country because of overdoses. And it's a critical problem I think we have in this entire country.
And Governor, some of it is about, and one of the things yesterday, especially with some of the testimony by folks who were there, is removing the stigma, because it does cross a lot of platforms, and you talk to people around the state, and somebody has, in your case, a brother, in other cases, a friend, a husband, a wife, a son, a daughter, a father. I mean, it touches a lot of folks in West Virginia.
You know, it's either touched an individual family's member, or, you know, a friend or a coworker or something. I mean, you know, I don't know of anyone who could say, well, I don't know of anybody that's not been affected by it. I think that, you know, if you can't see it, all you got to do is open your eyes. But it's you know, it just happens on a regular basis. And, you know, I mean, even this year, look at the stats on, you know, how many people have died from overdoses, either from prescription drugs, legal you know, prescriptions, or from, you know, from the street drugs. And we've made progress. We've, over the last few years, we've shut down a lot of the pill mills, and we've been able to require more reporting from both doctors and pharmacists, and concentrated a lot of time and effort. But as we've kind of tightened up on the prescription drugs, we've moved more toward heroin, even on the steps we've been on making it tougher to get pseudoephedrine. It was we have I think reduced the amount of meth labs and so forth, but obviously if people are hooked, they will look someplace else to try to find a substitute drug to get that high with.
Yeah. Governor, you have established a new helpline. 844 HELP the number 4 WV. 844 HELP the number 4 and then WV. So what does this line do?
Basically, we had not had a state hotline or a helpline, I guess you would call it, for people who are looking out. And we've heard people say, first of all, there's a stigma. You don't want anybody to know that you're hooked on drugs or anything. The second one is, where do we go for help? Is help available out there? And basically, we established this line, and we got trained counselors on there. They're trained for months to how to respond to these calls. And basically, if a person, it's 24 hours a day, so at 3 o'clock in the morning, someone says, it's time, I need help, with the problem I've got here. Basically, you call in there, you got a counselor on there that's trained that will stay on the line with you, that will hook you up with a counselor with one of the new service facilities we got around the states, to get you an appointment. They'll call up and make sure you've got transportation to get you there, to make sure you get to your appointment if you want help. And to be quite honest with you, in the past 30 days, we've received right at 300 calls, people needing help. It's not only for the individual, but for family members or friends. Said, I've got a friend with a problem, and he or she wants help. How do we go about getting the help? Where do we go to get it?
Yeah.
And if you call this line, it should be able to help people. That was not available before mid-September.
Yeah, that's valuable. And again, as you alluded to, it's not just for somebody who has an addiction, but a mom or a dad or a brother, sister, husband, and they think, where do I even begin? Well, here's a place to begin. You call 1-844-HELP, HELP, the number 4 WV. So it's 844-HELP-4-WV, 844-HELP 4 WV. So at least it's a starting point. What do I do? Where do I begin? Where do I turn?
Absolutely. And, one of the other things is when we started the Governor's Advisory Council on Substance Abuse, we did our regional task forces, and we looked and we listened to people, what they had to say, and, of course, just heart-wrenching stories we got from those, but also what came out of that was the need for services in local communities. And basically, first of all, the legislature was very good at giving me somewhere around $29 million, but we're able, to establish these kind of centers that can help people depending on what their particular need is. And we've established them all around the states. We're getting the maps together to show exactly where these clinic or help centers are, to be able to get people in, to give them the kind of help they need. Because, as it was mentioned yesterday, we can't put everyone in a prison or a jail.
Right.
This is a disease, and it needs people need professional help.
Governor, last hour I had on Dr. Clay Marsh, who you know, WVU Vice President and Executive Dean for Health Sciences, and I was taken aback a little bit because I asked him, and as the President alluded to yesterday, he talked about the number of prescriptions for painkillers that were given out since 2012 or in 2012, and it's just this enormous number. And I said, how much, Dr. Marsh, do you hold doctors and pharmaceutical companies responsible for the trouble? And he said most. I mean, he took a lot of blame on the medical community for. Now we are responsible for individual actions, but he put a lot of blame on the medical community and how it's handled this plethora of available painkillers. I was a little bit surprised by that.
Well, and really, I mean, that's I've complained about that with head of the state medical associations, various presidents, and so forth over the years, and our state licensing board, the Board of Pharmacy, and at least now we have the reporting, because You know, and I've told groups of doctors, you know, that you've got to help police yourselves. I mean, if you got 10 doctors in a city, and one of them is giving prescribing 100 times more OxyContin than everybody else is, then you know, should that not raise a flag that
Sure.
You know, something is not right here? That you know, especially if we're all either general practitioners or whatever the you know, your degree may be. So, but you know, there's been a reluctance over the years. However, now that we are collecting this information through the Board of Pharmacy, you know, those particular individuals are being the information is being forwarded to the license and disciplinary boards. So, you know, they are starting to make some changes and discipline these providers, but it's taken long enough to get that done. I mean, it definitely is something we've got to continue to do.
The number is 844-HELP-4-WV. 844-HELP, the number 4-WV, which is a new call line to start to get information if you have an addiction, if you have a family member who has an addiction, or you just don't know where to begin on this. Governor, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it, and as always, appreciate your time.
It's always good talking to you, Hoppy. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Governor Tomlin on that number, 844-HELP-4-WV. Good place to start. And I thought the stories yesterday by some of the folks were just heartbreaking, and we're going to talk with some of those folks here this morning on Talkline. Stay with us.
Imagine a scale, and you're trying to balance it. Too much on one side, and it sinks, just like our state's economy. When jobs are centered on one or two industries, the balance is off, our economy sinks, and good-paying jobs disappear. West Virginia needs a variety of industries, including fossil fuels, small business, and high-tech jobs to bring balance. The High Technology Foundation works to bring those high-tech jobs here. Ask your legislator if they're helping the High Technology Foundation bring balance to our economy. From the West Virginia High Technology Foundation.
The West Virginia Mountaineers return to action Thursday night, October 29th in Texas. Join the MetroNews Game Day crew as they cover WVU's primetime matchup with the TCU Horned Frogs. Pre-game coverage starts at 4:30 with the Cheap Gold and Blue Countdown, followed by the Sports Brunch. Game line kicks off at 7:30. At 10:30, post-game analysis begins on the Gold and Blue Wrap-Up, presented by the West Virginia Oil and Natural Gas Association, followed by the Point After. Don't miss game day coverage at its best here on MetroNews.
True to its motto, wild and wonderful, West Virginia is the third most forested state in the country for landmass and has 7 million more forested acres now than 100 years ago. The mountain state is abundantly blessed with valuable renewable forest resources, which naturally regenerate for future generations. Forestry is the basis for over 5,000 separate wood and paper products, creating millions of dollars in state revenue from business income and property taxes. A message from the West Virginia Forestry Association, WVFA.org.
Constantly checking your business checking? Switching to an MVB Bank Foundation business checking account makes your cash management easier with no minimum balance, no monthly service fees, up to 500 free transactions per month, and access to MVB where you work. Visit MVBbanking.com to see how MVB Bank helps you build a foundation for your business. MVB Bank, your most valuable bank. Member FDIC. Transactions are checks paid and deposited and ACH debits. $50 minimum deposit to open, 20 cents for each transaction over 500.
You're listening to Talkline on Metro News. For 30 years, the voice of West Virginia.
When we made the Jeep Cherokee, we didn't stop at a stunning interior, or at advanced technologies, or stop at that gas station, or from going over bumps, or rocks, or through rivers. Let's just say we couldn't stop ourselves. One drive and you'll discover why the Jeep brand continues to be the best-selling SUV brand. Join us now during the Jeep Drive and Discover event.
At MVB Bank, we have one simple objective: to give you the very best of everything you could possibly want and need in a bank. That's it. We believe most people just want a really great bank with top-notch products like checking with cash back, nationwide ATM fee refunds, great CD and car loan rates, and more. Together with our awesome team and the convenience of state-of-the-art technology they can count on. It's no extra fluff, just good, honest banking. We're MVB Bank, your most valuable bank. Member FDIC.
Almost there. Just 5 more minutes. Almost home.
Statistics show that 80% of auto fatalities occur close to home on rural roads.
Gosh, cops.
That's That's why law enforcement is stepping up rural patrols and cracking down on impaired driving. If you are over the limit, you are under arrest because drinking and driving don't mix. Remember, over the limit, under arrest. This message brought to you by the Governor's Highway Safety Program.
It's a lot easier when you have it on before you get pulled over. Click it or ticket.
Talkline on MetroNews. Talkline presented by MVB Bank. Your most valuable bank, member FDIC. 1-800-765-8255. 1-800-765-TALK. Email talkline@wvmetronews.com. Text me 304-TALK-304. Send me a tweet at Hoppy Kercheval. Here in West Virginia, there are two great jackpot games you can play from the West Virginia Lottery. Powerball has drawings on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Mega Millions has drawings on Tuesdays and Fridays. The Powerball jackpot is $100 million. The Mega Millions jackpot is $105 million. Please play responsibly. Coming up in about 10 minutes, we're going to talk with two of the individuals who were at the event yesterday with the president, Jordan Coughlin, who actually introduced the president. He's a young man who has been in recovery for almost 2 years, and we'll talk to him. And also, we're going to talk here in just a couple minutes with Carrie Dixon. Carrie Dixon has a child who has an addiction issue and is, I believe, currently in jail. And she testified yesterday, talked yesterday. So we're going to talk with, hopefully, both of them in just a little bit. I've gotten a fair number of, whenever we bring up the drug issue, there are people who really want to get into the marijuana issue and the decriminalization and or legalization of cannabis. And we've spent a little time on that. But as I've said before, I have to do really more research because I don't know whether legalization or decriminalization would have, I don't know what the impact would be on overall drug use or more serious drugs. I will tell you this. I saw a poll this week. Let me find the numbers here. It's from Gallup. It's from Gallup. A majority of Americans continue to say marijuana use should be legal in the United States. 58% of Americans now hold that view, tying the high point in Gallup's 46-year trend when asking the question about marijuana. Gallup reports American support for legal marijuana has steadily grown over time. When Gallup first asked the question in 1969, just 12% of Americans thought marijuana should be legal, with little change in two early 1970s polls. But by late 1970s, support had increased to about 25%. Stayed that way through the 90s. The percentage of Americans who favored making use of the drug legal exceeded 30% in 2000, 40% by 2009. Over the past 6 years, according to Gallup, support has vacillated a bit, but averaged 48% from 2010 to 2012, and has averaged above the majority since 2013. So now you have 58% of Americans believing that marijuana should be legal. It's legal currently. Recreational use is currently legal in 4 states and the District of Columbia. Ohio voters are set to decide on a ballot initiative coming up on Election Day. So it's getting closer to West Virginia, and that Ohio is going to decide whether or not to legalize marijuana for recreational purposes. And I always get pitched by folks who say you got to be on this cannabis bandwagon because cannabis, when it's grown without the THC or without the active ingredient that makes you high, that it can be used for all this other stuff. And so I know that pitch is out there. So we'll see. Usually every year there's a bill introduced in the legislature to decriminalize or even legalize marijuana. Never really gets very far. So I would imagine that West Virginia would probably trail the rest of the country on this. George in Fairmont on the drug issue. George, thanks for waiting. Welcome to Talkline.
Well, Hoppy, I think I got the solution. You know, I was in the Marine Corps and the United States Army, both in 2 wars. And, you know, I think what we ought to do is start a CC camp in the state of West Virginia and have all the other states follow suit after they see how good it works. Take all these druggies and everything, instead of putting them in a prison, put them in a CC camp and put them to work and let them work the drugs out of them. Because if you sit them in a cell, they're sitting around and they're not doing anything and they're not working that drug out of their system. And this way, if they're not getting the drugs, they're eating properly, they're getting the medication, they're getting what they need and everything, and they're doing a job and everything, they'll work that drug system out of their system. And then they can be repatriated back into the population again, instead of letting them rot in jail and everything and coming out and then going right back to the same thing again.
Well, there are a couple points about where we are with drug addiction and imprisonment in this country. One is, that, as somebody said earlier in this program, you can't lock up everybody who's using illegal drugs because you'd have to build about 5 times the number of prisons you have now, number one. The second thing is it's expensive to lock people up. It costs about $20,000 a year to keep somebody in jail. So if somebody is in jail primarily because they are a drug addict, it is in fact cheaper to have them get treatment. I mean, that's cheaper than actually housing an individual in jail. The third thing is, and this is a large issue too, is that you probably do not have the amount of treatment that is necessary in prisons. So guess what? And I know that West Virginia officials are aware of this. I know that Commissioner Rubenstein has worked on this. We're probably doing more than a lot of states on this. But you're right, that 80 to 90%, I'm making those numbers up, but it's an overwhelming percentage of people who are in prison have some sort of substance abuse problem, drugs, alcohol, or both. And if you don't get some sort of treatment, you go in prison as an addict, and you come out as an addict. So unless it is dealt with in that intervening period, you're coming out the same way you sent in, and that is as an addict. Thanks for the call. Coming up in the next half hour, again, we're going to talk with a couple of the folks who participated in that event yesterday. I thought that the president coupled the key points that he made yesterday. And I've changed my thinking over the years on some of this stuff. And it was powerful when he said, you have to fight, you have to get away from the stigma. And he said, that's one of the reasons I'm so proud, he said, of people who are trying to cope with this issue. Because when it just stays in the shadows, and if there's awkward conversations among family members who don't want to discuss, well, we don't talk about Johnny because Johnny's a problem. So there's a stigma, and so people are less likely to seek help. Also, as the president said, and this is true, and this is not a liberal or conservative idea. This is a public health and practical approach, and that is that rather than spending billions of dollars on a long prison sentence for nonviolent drug offenders, we could save money and get better outcomes by dedicating some money to treatment. And the other thing is, which is tough to get your hands around, but is I've come around on this, and that is the number of painkiller prescriptions that are written in this country. It's a stunning amount. It's in 2012, 259 million prescriptions for painkillers in this country. And then, as appropriately, the medical community, under pressure, is finally tightening down on doctors. Normal family doctors writing prescriptions who just, maybe don't know the full, or maybe didn't know the full impact of these pain medications. Tightening down on them, cracking down on pill mills, making progress there. Well, you still have people who are addicted because we've given out millions and millions of prescriptions of these pills. So now what? Well, now you go someplace else to get high. and you turn to heroin. And once heroin is introduced, well, it's already introduced, but once there's an expansion of heroin, guess what? Now you have an expansion of infectious diseases like HIV and hepatitis, which is why you have a lot of communities, or a number of communities, now doing needle exchanges to try to at least reduce the spread of infectious diseases. That also is a public health issue and an economic issue, because if you have a drug problem and you get an infectious disease, we're all going to pay for it. I got to take a break and come back. When we come back, we're going to talk with a couple of the folks who participated in yesterday's event with President Obama in Charleston. So that's coming up. Stay with us. There's more to come. This is Talkline on MetroNews. MetroNews is the voice of West Virginia. It's 11:30. Let's get a news update. Check in with the MetroNews Radio Network. Find what's happening statewide this hour all across the great state of West Virginia.
West Virginia Metro News. I'm Chris Lawrence. Testimony in the trial of former Massey CEO Don Blankenship has resumed this morning at the federal courthouse in Charleston. And back on the witness stand, Scott Halstead, a former miner at Upper Big Branch who was diagnosed with black lung while he was employed there. He gave testimony Wednesday in support of the government's claim that working conditions at UBB were terrible, and those conditions were endorsed at the very top of the company. Metro News legal analyst Tom Payton listened to the testimony and said while all of this has built a case, the government still has to find a way to link it to Blankenship.
Soon, the prosecutor is going to need to try and make some connection between these technical safety violations and Mr. Blankenship, who's on trial here, not the mine or the mine president.
The U.S. Attorney indicated to Judge Irene Berger Wednesday they do anticipate resting the case early next week. Among those joining President Obama on stage in Charleston Wednesday for a frank discussion about pill and heroin epidemic in West Virginia was Charleston Police Chief Brent Webster. He told the crowd and the president that it's not a problem they can solve with arrests alone. He said officers see it every day.
We basically have a community of zombies, for lack of a better word, walking around. They need treatment very badly. And they're coming up to our officers. They actually are, some don't want help yet, but at some point they do want help, and we want to get them help.
See more coverage of the president's visit at WVMetroNews.com. Charges against a man who allegedly conspired to help a man desert the U.S. Coast Guard have been dismissed in Berkeley County. 32-year-old Jeffrey York was fined $25 in court costs after pleading guilty to a count of accessory to obstruction after the fact. You're listening to Metro News. For 30 years, the voice of West Virginia.
West Virginians love the outdoors, whether it's hunting the big buck, fishing for that elusive trout, or just enjoying our wild, wonderful state. Keep up with what's happening in news of the outdoors with Chris Lawrence and Metro News. On the Outdoors page at WVMetroNews.com, you'll find podcasts of Ram Truck's West Virginia Outdoors, the Ram Trophy Room, the Trout Stocking Report, and Chris's West Virginia Outdoor Journal. For coverage of the great outdoors, depend on Chris Lawrence and Metro News, the voice of West Virginia.
It's getting harder to make ends meet, and when you can't keep food on the table, it's pretty devastating. There is assistance, but applications can be confusing. Catholic Charities West Virginia is making it easier by helping families learn about and enroll in the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, so they can get the healthy foods they need. Call 844-292-3217 to learn more, because if one person is going hungry, that's one too many. Catholic Charities West Virginia is an equal opportunity employer and service provider, funded in part by USDA and the Walmart Foundation.
VH1's Save the Music Foundation is donating new musical instruments to 8 West Virginia schools. The presentations are set for today and tomorrow in the following schools: Buckhannon Upshur Middle in Upshur County, Collins Middle in Fayette County, Moorfield Middle in Hardy County, Mountain Ridge Middle in Berkeley County, Mullins Middle in Wyoming County, Petersburg High School, Warm Springs Middle in Morgan County, and Wirt County Middle School. From the Metro News Anchor Desk, I'm Chris Lawrence.
Welcome back. Talkline on Metro News. Two of those West Virginians who participated yesterday in the President's Forum are Jordan Coughlin. Jordan Coughlin has been in recovery for 22 months from an opioid use disorder. He's starting the first Young People in Recovery chapter in West Virginia. He's also pursuing his master's degree in social work at WVU while working full-time as a peer recovery specialist for Youth Services System, a local organization that supports at-risk youth. And Jordan joins us on Talkline. Jordan, good morning to you. Thanks for coming on.
Good morning, Hoppy. Thank you for having me.
Sure. And also Carrie Dixon. Carrie Dixon is a mom, and her son struggling with addiction, in treatment now, but unfortunately also in prison. She was there yesterday. Carrie, good morning. Thank you for coming on.
Good morning.
And thank you both, too, for being there yesterday and being courageous to talk about these challenges, because I think it was made clear yesterday, Carrie, I'll start with you, that one of the first things you have to do is sort of break down the stigma and say these things happen and we got to deal with them. And, you don't expect it, but it comes up just like it did in your life.
Yes, that is correct. I think our communities are aware now that addiction, it respects no one. It can touch anyone's family, and I think educating ourselves as family members and not only helps us personally be able to more effectively deal with our loved one and the problems that they're going through, but it also helps raise awareness about this issue so that we can hopefully begin to get more resources. And I think that our community in Huntington is gaining momentum with this idea, and the president's visit was perfect timing to help keep that moving forward.
Now, Carrie, in your experience with your son, when you first began to suspect something, did you know where to turn, or did you know how to confront it? Obviously, you know a lot more now than you did, and was that an initial challenge for you?
Yes, it was. When family members first suspect that something is going on, we tend to try to kind of stay in a state of denial for a while, and we don't really want to believe what we think is going on. So, and hopefully this will help other people. If they suspect that there's an addiction problem or substance abuse issue with their family member, there probably is. So, yes, it was difficult also to figure out what to do.
Yeah.
We were desperate for help. Yeah.
Now at least there's at least one. I'm sure there are multiple starting points, but one of them, as the governor was on earlier, he talked about 844-HELP-4WV, which is at least a starting point we can call and say, where do I begin? Jordan Coughlin, you've been in recovery for almost 2 years. Why and how did you finally decide to get help?
Well, Hoppy, my journey has been a long time coming. This is not my first go at treatment. And my story is not unique. Many people go in and out of treatment, but the entire time I had loving friends and family supporting me in my journey, encouraging me never to give up. This current journey occurred 22 months ago, and I haven't looked back since. And, I guess I can let you know and let the recovering community know that this time it feels different and it seems different.
Why?
And
Why?
I believe this time I'm owning my own recovery in a way that I never was willing to do before. It felt at times that my recovery journey was not my own, but I believe that was most importantly due to me not owning it and making it my own. And so this amazing opportunity that I received yesterday not only gave me a chance to share my story and own it on international television, but it gave me an opportunity to break down the stigma that I myself felt for so long in regards to my substance misuse.
You say owning it, and Jordan, because maybe previously it was others wanted you to do it, but you weren't fully bought in, and then finally it was, okay, I got to do this.
Yes, this time it was 100% me. I love my family and I loved them in my most difficult moments. But if you're not doing it for yourself, I'm not going to ever say it's not going to work, but it really has to come from a place of desire from within.
Is it after 2 years, and this time it's for real? After almost 2 years, can you wake up and say, I'm going to be fine. I'm not going to slip. I can deal with, I'll go about my life. I mean, how confident do you feel going forward?
I'm human. I have bad days just like anyone else. Whether you're in or out of recovery, we all have bad days. We all have the human condition. However, I have things that I do on a daily basis to sustain my recovery. I have people that I talk to. I have tools that I utilize, books that I enjoy reading, journaling, the list goes on. Nature has been very large in my recovery as well. And so giving myself the freedom to explore the multiple pathways of recovery and discover firsthand the things that fill me up from the inside out has been key in sustaining it. And, it's widely known in the recovery community, this really is a one day at a time issue.
Yeah. Carrie Dixon's with us. Carrie, you heard Jordan's story yesterday. You hear him today. Maybe you got a chance to chat with him yesterday. Does that give you hope for your son who's in recovery?
Certainly. I really enjoyed being able to talk with Jordan yesterday, and certainly people in recovery are incredibly inspirational and give us hope for our loved ones. Definitely, yes.
Yeah. Jordan, you feel like you have a larger obligation? I mean, you were on stage yesterday, man. I mean, everybody's looking to you now. The pressure's on, right?
It's so funny. Yesterday was the craziest 48 hours of my life. It was the most incredible experience, and I'm humbled and I'm honored that I was able to be there and to meet the president, to share my story and really represent those who can't speak up for themselves right now.
Yeah.
I don't feel any different as a person. I guess my face is on the White House Facebook, so that says something. But coming back to my home, being with my friends and my roommates, life doesn't seem any different for me. My story hasn't changed. My path hasn't changed. I was just able to speak up and share my experience in hopes that people could see that recovery is awesome and that treatment is effective.
Carrie Dixon, what would you say to mothers and dads out there who maybe are just beginning their journey with their son or daughter or a loved one?
I would say that it is important to seek help immediately, and education and information is critical to helping. I facilitate a group created by a man named Ed Hughes. It's called the Loved Ones Group. It's a 7-week series that we, once we finish the 7th week, we start back with number 1 again. But it provides education and information as well as support for family members. And this group was pivotal in my family's recovery. Mm-hmm. When you're involved and you're loving and caring for someone with a substance abuse disorder, you get on that roller coaster with them, and if you don't educate yourself and you continue down that path, as a parent, you might not even want to get out of bed. You have to learn how to love your loved one sometimes in a different way, because what we typically do can cause more harm than good, and it can help to progress the addiction at times. So it's very important. I think it's critical if a family member thinks that a loved one has a substance abuse issue, to educate themselves.
And by the way, again, the starting point could be the Governor's Hotline at 844-HELP-4-WV. Carrie Dixon, thank you for having the courage to be up there yesterday. We appreciate that. Jordan, thank you for being there yesterday. Congratulations, and we're proud of you, and keep up the good work, okay?
Thank you, Hoppy, and thank you, Carrie, for sharing your story.
Thank you, Jordan.
All right.
Take care.
Take good care, both of you. We'll be right back. More Talkline right after this.
The West Virginia Book Festival is coming to the Charleston Civic Center this Friday and Saturday. Get ready for a weekend of amazing authors, workshops, lectures, and of course, the popular used book sale. Friday's events feature writing and self-publishing workshops and world-renowned author of the Sandman series and American Gods, Neil Gaiman. The huge used book sale rolls out Saturday at 8 a.m. sharp, followed by the marketplace, costume parade, and more authors. Go to wvbookfestival.org for details on the West Virginia Book Festival.
This is Talkline on MetroNews. For 30 years, the voice of West Virginia.
When we made the Jeep Cherokee, we didn't stop at a stunning interior, or at advanced technologies, or stop at that gas station, or from going over bumps, or rocks, or through rivers. Let's just say we couldn't stop ourselves. One drive and you'll discover why the Jeep brand continues to be the best-selling SUV brand. Join us now during the Jeep Drive and Discover event.
At MVB Bank, we have one simple objective: to give you the very best of everything you could possibly want and need in a bank. That's it. We believe most people just want a really great bank with top-notch products like checking with cash back, nationwide ATM fee refunds, great CD and car loan rates, and more. Together with our awesome team and the convenience of state-of-the-art technology they can count on. It's no extra fluff, just good, honest banking. We're MVB Bank, your most valuable bank. Member FDIC.
Almost there. Just 5 more minutes. Almost home.
Statistics show that 80% of auto fatalities occur close to home on rural roads.
Cops.
That's why law enforcement is stepping up rural patrols and cracking down on impaired driving. If you are over the limit, you are under arrest because drinking and driving don't mix. Remember, over the limit, under arrest. This message brought to you by the Governor's Highway Safety Program.
It's a lot easier when you have it on before you get pulled over. Click it or ticket.
Ad Council.
Talkline presented by MVB Bank, your most valuable bank, member FDIC. Pick up your fall foliage guide at any of the West Virginia Welcome Centers or call 1-800-CALL-WVA. And also, before they're all gone, take a picture of a beautiful fall foliage shot I imagine is walk out in your backyard. Take a picture and post it on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hashtag #GoToWV, hashtag fall in WV. Awkward segue from segment to segment, which is my specialty. The West Virginia Music Hall of Fame's 6th induction ceremony is coming up this Saturday at the Culture Center Theater in Charleston. Going to be broadcast live by West Virginia Public Broadcasting. Michael Lipton is the director of the West Virginia Music Hall of Fame. Welcome back, Michael. Good to talk to you.
Hi, Hoppy, and thanks for having me on.
All right, let's, we're short on time. I apologize. I want to go through, though. Give me a factoid about those who are going in. Let's start with Beckley native Russ Hicks, a pedal steel guitarist. Tell us about Russ.
Pedal steel great. He's played on hundreds of records. He started out in Beckley and had, he did a 13-year stint on Hee Haw with Charlie McCoy as a musical director.
Wow.
And recently moved back to West Virginia and giving a lot back. And he also has kind of a secret past of some odd garage bands that, you can see in the vignette tonight.
Oh, cool. Cool, okay. Also,
Saturday night.
McDowell County singer and songwriter and performer John Ellison. And you hooked me up. I interviewed John Ellison, who wrote the song Some Kind of Wonderful, which is been done by about 200 different people, including Grand Funk Railroad and Mark Farner. So John Ellison's going to be inducted.
Right, and Mark Farner from Grand Funk will be here to present the award and to play on the song. And John's another guy, and this whole class is really special because everyone has a really close connection to West Virginia. John's been coming back here a lot more. He talks to schools and kids in McDowell County. He's an incredible performer, a wonderful guy, and I just heard a really wonderful story really heartbreaking story about when he had to leave West Virginia.
Oh. Yeah, I think he
went.
went...
He'll be talking about that.
If I recall the interview, I think it was one of those stories, went to New York or Buffalo or somewhere and had like $3 in his pocket. I mean, just one of those deals.
Yeah. Well, he was just telling me about when he bought the ticket as a late teenager and went home and said, Mom, I'm leaving.
Oh.
And, it's a heavy story, really.
There's a great story, too, if he tells the story about how he wrote the song Some Kind of Wonderful, because it started with a girlfriend who made a sandwich for him when he was getting ready to go on a road trip. That was a good story.
Right.
Jazz pianist Bob Thompson. Who's Bob Thompson?
Who's Bob Thompson? I think that, Bob is West Virginia. He's the quintessential West Virginian by choice. It was funny, John bought a one-way ticket to Buffalo, and Bob bought a one-way ticket to Charleston.
Okay.
and he's been here for 50 years, and I think it's safe to say he's probably played more gigs in West Virginia than anyone ever has.
Wow. So he's being inducted, jazz pianist Bob Thompson. There are 3 deceased inductees. Old-time fiddler Ed Haley from Harts Creek in Logan County. Tell us about Ed Haley.
Yeah, he's, some people call him the grandfather of old-time fiddling. And he had a very distinctive style, and he was a big influence on Clark Kessinger, who, a lot of people view as the greatest old-time fiddler ever, who was inducted in 2007. And his John Hartford was a big proponent of Ed Haley, and was writing a book on him when he died.
Mm. So he'll be inducted posthumously, along with country music recording, radio and television artist Buddy Starcher from Ripley. Tell us about Buddy Starcher.
Right. He is a very interesting guy. He had most people in the Kanawha Valley know him from the TV show that he had on WCHS, and it was kind of a variety show with music and some novelty songs and comedians. But he also had a recording career. He was on Columbia Records, and he did these odd kind of recitation songs. One was called History Repeats Itself, about the similarities between the Lincoln and Kennedy assassination. And of all people, 2 people covered that song, Minnie Pearl and Cab Calloway. So that tells you something.
That's peculiar. Also, posthumously being inducted is Charleston native Harry Van Walls. And tell us about Harry Van Walls.
Okay, well, I just want to say that Russ Hicks is going to present Buddy Starcher's award because Russ played on the Buddy Starcher show.
Oh, okay.
Which is kind of cool. Yeah. So Harry Van Walls is, we have kind of 2 architects of piano from West Virginia. One was Johnny Johnson, who's Chuck Berry's guy, who was kind of the architect of rock and roll piano. Well, Van Walls is kind of the architect of R&B piano. He was the house pianist at Atlantic Records from 1949 to 55, and played on dozens of just totally classic songs by Big Joe Turner, Ruth Brown, the Drifters, the Plovers. And we have a really nice testimonial from Dr. John about him. And the band NRBQ, which is a great American band from Louisville, will be performing that musical segment. And we're screening a documentary about Van Walls tonight, which is Thursday at the LaBelle Theater in South Charleston at 6:30.
Tonight at 6:30 at the LaBelle Theater in South Charleston. Michael Lipton's with us, director of the West Virginia Music Hall of Fame, this Saturday. The West Virginia Music Hall of Fame's 6th induction ceremony at the Culture Center Theater in Charleston. You can buy tickets at wvmusichollofFame.com. They're also available at Taylor Books in Charleston, or call the Hall of Fame office at 342-4412. Michael, you got great performances lined up. Mark Farner, formerly of Grand Funk. How'd you get Mark? I know Mark Farner is tied to John Ellison, but Farner, that's a big name. It's going to be there.
Well, I was talking to John, and we were talking about who should present this award. I said, well, do you know Mark Farner? And he goes, yeah, let me call him up. And he called him up. and that was the end of that. That was the easiest one. And did want to mention that that the show is going to be broadcast live on public television. Mm-hmm. And it is one of the Festival Fall events also.
Cool. Also, Bill Withers is going to be there. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, he's coming in Saturday, and that was kind of we had talked about it, but he had just done they did a tribute to him at Carnegie Hall in New York just a couple of weeks ago, and I didn't think he'd want to make another trip back east, and he said, oh, yeah, we're coming.
Yeah, so Bill Withers, who's one of the newest members of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, right?
Right.
Yeah. Billy Ed Wheeler's going to be there, one of the great storyteller-songwriters. Charlie McCoy.
Yeah. We have more past inductees this year than we've ever had before. Tim O'Brien will be there. Melvin Gons will be there.
Johnny Stats, right?
Right, and Wayne Moss will be there as well.
Yeah, they're all going to be there. And McCoy, I interviewed him one time. McCoy has played on it's almost as though anytime you hear a song that has a really good harmonica in it, it's like, oh, that's probably Charlie McCoy. I mean, he's played on everything. So.
He's played on, I think it's almost 10,000 records. And, and everybody from, Elvis, George Jones, Tammy Wynette. He played the bass harmonica on The Boxer by, Simon and Garfunkel.
Yeah. Should be a great event. It's going to be the West Virginia Music Hall of Fame's 6th induction ceremony. It's this Saturday at the Culture Center. It's going to be broadcast live by West Virginia Public Broadcasting. It is a part of the festival series and 6 new inductees in the Hall of Fame. Michael Lipton, you do a great job with it. I know it's a labor of love, and you do a tremendous job with it, man. You're not in it for the money.
That?
Well, because I know. Right. That's why I know. Hey, man, good luck with it, okay? Have fun.
Okay, thanks an awful lot.
All right, Michael, you're welcome. We'll be right back.
Hello?
Susan, I need your help.
Sure, what's up?
I need a contractor, and I don't know how to find a good one.
Oh, that's easy. Go to the Home Builders Association of West Virginia. They have a list of all kinds of contractors.
How do I know if they're good? I don't want just anybody.
Well, do your homework. Are they licensed and insured? Check their references and look at what they've done. Do people like them? And most of all, be sure to get a clear written contract.
Okay, where do I find this association?
Go to hbawv.org.
hbawv.org.
That's it.
Your dreams built by the best. Contact the Home Builders Association of West Virginia for a list of professionals in your area. Go to hbawv.org today. This message brought to you by our marketing partners, Lowe's of North Central West Virginia, Brick Street, 84 Lumber, Federal Home Loan Bank of Pittsburgh, ProBuild, SJ Needhawk, Valcon, Wincor, and West Virginia Housing Development Fund. The Home Builders Association of West Virginia. Go to hbawv.org today.
Trading in your business fleet or personal vehicle for a new one? Donate your used vehicle to Good News Mountaineer Garage and get the best tax deduction possible and the satisfaction of knowing your donation changed the life of someone in need. Good News Mountaineer Garage repairs donated vehicles and provides them to qualified West Virginia families, giving them access to employment, safe, affordable housing, healthcare, and other vital necessities, and putting them on the road to economic independence. Call 1-866-GIVE-CAR today for Good News Mountaineer Garage. 866-GIVE-CAR.
You know who taught me to use a hands-free device while driving? My mom. She scared me to death all through school with that phone up to her ear, driving us back and forth. Now that I'm on the road solo, I tell my mom, I'm worried about you. Go hands-free with the phone when you're driving. I do. It's important to set a good example for parents, so when she rides with me, I turn it off, put it down, and just drive.
The West Virginia Department of Transportation, saving one life at a time.
You're listening to Talkline on MetroNews. For 30 years, the voice of West Virginia.
When we made the Jeep Cherokee, we didn't stop at a stunning interior, or at advanced technologies, or stop at that gas station, or from going over bumps, or rocks, or through rivers. Let's just say we couldn't stop ourselves. One drive and you'll discover why the Jeep brand continues to be the best-selling SUV brand. Join us now during the Jeep Drive and Discover event.
At MVB Bank, we have one simple objective: to give you the very best of everything you could possibly want and need in a bank. That's it. We believe most people just want a really great bank with top-notch products like checking with cash back, nationwide ATM fee refunds, great CD and car loan rates, and more. Together with our awesome team and the convenience of state-of-the-art technology they can count on. It's no extra fluff, just good, honest banking. We're MVB Bank, your most valuable bank. Member FDIC.
Almost there. Just 5 more minutes. Almost home.
Statistics show that 80% of auto fatalities occur close to home on rural roads.
Cops.
That's why law enforcement is stepping up rural patrols and cracking down on impaired driving. If you are over the limit, you are under arrest because drinking and driving don't mix. Remember, over the limit, under arrest. This message brought to you by the Governor's Highway Safety Program.
It's a lot easier when you have it on before you get pulled over. Click it or ticket.
Here in West Virginia, there are two great jackpot games you can play from the West Virginia Lottery. Powerball has drawings on Wednesdays and Saturdays, Mega Millions Tuesdays and Fridays. Powerball jackpot is $100 million. Mega Millions jackpot, $105 million. Please play responsibly. I don't want to blow it. Keep this under your hat, but I'm working. Lipton's working on getting me Mark Farner for tomorrow, but just don't tell anybody. See you tomorrow. This has been Talkline on MetroNews, the voice of West Virginia.